This channel is sponsored by Loot Crate, the monthly subscription box that's always filled with surprises for gamers and geeks alike. If you're interested, go to lootcrate.com/hawk525, and after choosing your crate, type in promo code HAWK525 for a 10% discount. The link and promo code will be in the description box below. Thanks guys, and hope you enjoy the show. What is up everyone, Sean here, and welcome to this review for Black Panther. Today just gonna be me for now. There's kind of a reason why to it, but I'll talk more into that later. We both watched it and on the opening night, and overall we both came out of the theater liking it, like initially. So it's kind of a hard one to start with, or where to start. I guess. Overall, for me personally anyway, I felt like Black Panther wasn't bad or anything like that, but it was a little pushed a little bit. It was a little overhyped for me anyway, and I just felt like it just was another Marvel film in a way, but it was refreshing in another way too, in that sense. It took a little bit of a different approach this time around. Obviously, it is all about Black Panther, but I think a lot of the highlights do come from the things around him, the environment, Wakanda. Wakanda, you know, I definitely wish for more of it. It was definitely an interesting looking world. Otherwise, initially, I was kind of a little soured by the fact that they only use a couple locations for the actual like merchant street itself. It was kind of just one street. I just want to see more of the city itself rather than the street and then the waterfall where they do this, you know, challenge with T'Challa, you know, fighting anyone who challenges him for the throne or whatever, and then of course his throne room, and of course the lab, and there's that, and of course there's South Korea, but that's like a whole different thing. But putting that aside, you know, I mean, I do wish for more of like the world and stuff like that, the environment. It looked really neat for, you know, for what it was, and I just wish for more Wakanda. But that's just personally me anyway. It's kind of a bit of a minor complaint, but it was a little funny to kind of point out, and other people from other videos kind of did as well. Which kind of I did notice after the film rather than during it. But despite that though, the important bits, or the juicy bits of Black Panther, do come from the characters. Not so much T'Challa himself, but rather the other characters such as the General. Never really got her name down, but I just call her the General. She's pretty much like the right-hand man of, you know, Black Panther, and I felt like she was a really cool character. She was very interesting. She had her own little quirks going on. Very traditional, very, you know, stern, strong, and it's cool, I guess, because while she's a woman, she's female, and it's kind of uncommon to see kind of like something like that in nowadays or something, or especially back in the day. It was kind of uncommon to see something like that. But, you know, maybe in history, I believe there were, you know, female generals that served, you know, strongly and royally to their king and stuff like that, king or queen, whatever, emperor, empress, what have you. But it's kind of nice to see something like that. It's a bit of a nice change for this film anyway. To, you know, and she's just overall, you know, just a great character to have around. And I did also like his sister, who's, you know, the genius. She's all about technology. She, you know, really works well with vibranium, or aka adamantium, and she's just, you know, she's kind of like Q. I did get that kind of vibe from her, which is really cool because I really used to like James Bond films back in the day when I was younger. So I did get that kind of vibe from her, and also just like the first half of the film, it just kind of like felt like a James Bond kind of film, like very 007 kind of espionage, kind of undercover kind of film, which is really cool. I really liked the first half, and I felt like it was really strong. And I felt like the film started really strong as well. Seeing the fight between T'Challa and one of the challengers, this big burly guy, and he was actually really respectful as well, which which is awesome. And it's understandable, where he comes from too, but he's still able to be, have a good sportsmanship, which is, that's just, I thought that part was really cool. And on top of that, the choreography and all that stuff, it was really cool, just from that scene alone, and it felt very real. And I do say that because later on, there is some use of CG, but I'll get to that later. But it just felt very authentic. It felt like a very great start for Black Panther for this film. I was definitely hooked in, and by the time they got to South Korea, I was definitely like into it. The whole driving scene, the whole just fight at the actual party or get together, whatever you would call it. Obviously, there's some kind of deal going on with the weapons and stuff like that. With I forgot his name, but Andy Serkis was the actor for him. It was something with a claw, but claw guy. I just call him the claw guy. The claw guy, had this gun that he stole from, or weapon that he stole from Wakanda some time ago, and he was able to modify his arm to use that kind of weapon, and he was a threat in that sense. But overall, he's just kind of a dude with an arm cannon, and he kind of sold the show for a little bit, but I did like him for the time, and he was definitely kind of funny. He's kind of like the comic relief a little bit, and obviously he wasn't the real villain by any means, but still interesting. I did like him for his role or his character or whatever, and he definitely wasn't kind of just there. He didn't feel like a typical crony or henchman or anything like that. He felt like a pretty interesting character for that film. But back to the whole first half, I felt like it was really cool to see. Despite the CG part in that, I didn't mind. It was just visually really cool looking. Even with it being at night, I did like the purple and a lot of the other colors as well. But it was mainly purple. I kind of noticed, which was something I didn't mind. I definitely liked it, in fact. And like I said, it just felt like a James Bond film with the whole chase, the fight, the undercover thing, and everything. It was just it had the complete package. Even the gadgets. It had gadgets especially with the suit and everything. It felt like that kind of James Bond film that I kind of miss nowadays. James Bond kind of feels more dark. He kind of is more edgy. He's more serious and stuff like that. There's not really much of that gadget stuff going on, or like that cool car he drives, whatever. With a lot of the gadgets in that car too, it just it kind of just feels like its own film, which I don't really get into too much as much as something like this. This is like the spy films that I really look into, and I felt like that was a really fun part to see. So the first half was really good until that part after, with Killmonger revealing himself and revealing his true intentions and everything. The scene after that felt a little slow. I think that was the least favorite part, in my opinion. But by the end of it, it does get good, or it does kind of pick up again. But by the end of it, felt like there's room for improvement, and it could have been better. There's parts of the big final battle that could have been better. The CG rhinos kind of stood out like a sore thumb for me anyway, and the final fight, it had a lot of CG going on, more than I expected. I really wished it kind of brought back to the real fight with authentic suits and everything. I felt like even Captain America: Civil War felt more authentic in a sense, because there is actually real people fighting and stuff like that. Even with the CG, I felt like the CG was done a lot better in Civil War than in Black Panther, at least for that fight, that final fight anyway, where T'Challa and Killmonger in their own Black Panther suits, you know, it felt a little weird, or kind of looked weird watching it. There were also some parts of the final battle where it felt like, you know, something was building up to it, and then you just kind of felt like, oh, okay. But I felt like, you know, that the second half was a little weaker than the first half. I did really like the first half, that's just me anyway. Not saying that the part with Killmonger wasn't bad or anything. It just felt like that whole second half could have been better, in my opinion. And speaking of Killmonger, I felt like Killmonger was a pretty engaging villain. He did come from a pretty, you know, messed up background, and by then you do understand where he's coming from. People say that he wasn't a villain, others say he is, but in my opinion, I think in the end, it was best that he was treated like like a villain. That's pretty much like the spoilers I would share in the non-spoiler portion, but I will talk a little more into it in the spoiler portion of this movie review. But I did really like the villain, and overall, the entire film felt refreshing as a Marvel film, but as a typical like movie, like if you just look at it from a very general perspective, it's a pretty solid film itself. It can stand on its own. You don't really have to understand anything else other than, well, Black Panther is this guy from this part of Africa, and this country is cut off from the rest of the world just to hide the technology behind it, and stuff like that. And but as a Marvel film, it's definitely kind of improved upon. I felt like it felt refreshing in a way with the storytelling, how it was told, and just the characters altogether too. I did appreciate the hard work that they put into these characters, and overall the cultural kind of portrayal that they did with the Wakanda, this world of Wakanda, or the I guess kingdom of Wakanda. It just felt pretty authentic. I did take a lot from the actual African culture, and I did like the whole tribe thing too. I think it was really cool, especially with the big muscular guy with the fur. He was really funny too at that, so he definitely had that charm to him. He definitely had the power kind of character to him, and I just really liked him too as well. I do wish to see more of him. Hopefully in Infinity War. Hopefully he doesn't die, but it's probably not a surprise if he does. He'll probably sacrifice himself during the big battle in Infinity War with the army and everything. But we'll have to see. We'll have to see how much of that plays into Infinity War. But you do see the army of Wakanda like in this big battle with obviously the antagonist army. But back on this overall, it definitely felt different from other Marvel films, and that's something kind of needed. I felt like nowadays, just to make sure that people don't get tired of these films, and we are getting several numbers of them with Ant-Man, with the Wasp, and Infinity War, of course, and probably several other films maybe after that or in between part 1 and part 2. So it was good for Black Panther to kind of feel that way, to feel a little different, and I did like it in that for that too. So that's something I do appreciate as well. But overall, it's not definitely my favorite film, even as a Marvel film. It's not my favorite, but it definitely is a good all-around film. Just a solid, standalone film and everything, superhero and all that stuff. It just, it definitely has everything that makes a good movie. It has fun action scenes. It's got engaging characters, the visuals and the cinematography and everything the technical aspects, overall kind of seemed well together. So for me, Black Panther overall is a solid 8 out of 10. I felt, like I said, I felt like it was a little overhyped. There was a lot going on with the premiere and everything, and a lot of people were saying, "Oh, this is something you really got to see. This is a really great film for Marvel and everything." I felt like, yeah, it is a pretty solid film for Marvel, but not something entirely mind-blowing, but it is enough that it is something that stands on its own feet. It's just Black Panther, you know what I mean? There is, of course, something by the post-credit scenes, but I'll definitely get to that in the spoiler portion of this video here. So, but again, I gave it an 8 out of 10, and I highly recommend it to everyone who's into Marvel, of course. Like I said, it's a good, great Marvel film, but as a general film, it's pretty good. It's a pretty good film. Like I said, but it was definitely a little overhyped though, in my opinion. So, and of course, oh yeah, engaging villain, which is a little different from several other superhero films. So, but yeah, that's pretty much it for the non-spoiler portion of Black Panther. There are some things I would like to talk about in spoiler portion, so if anyone hasn't catched it already, please go do that, especially if you're a Marvel fan. So we will go to the spoiler portion, so I'll see you guys in that. So see you soon. So welcome to the spoiler portion of Black Panther with myself, of course, and it wasn't really, going straight into it. There wasn't really much to really talk about other than the villain himself, really. And that's why Danny felt like, he didn't have much to say other than it's a good film, which I do feel for him. But I did want to talk about the villain just a little bit here, other than, well, he does come from a pretty messed up background, because, in the beginning of the film, you do notice that it takes place at a ghetto at first, or some sort of like suburban area, and there's these two guys about to rob something, or they were planning something, some kind of heist, and lo and behold, T'Challa's father, aka the Black Panther at the time, came in and pretty much revealed that his partner was a spy, pretty much, and he was looking after his own brother, and he wanted him to come back, but he committed some crimes, so he wanted him to answer, rightfully to his own crimes, but he pretty much said no, and he's about to fire on his own partner, because whatever, and the current, Black Panther pretty much stabbed him and killed him there. So, and that was pretty much the motivation for Killmonger to get back at the current royal family. So, it is understandable to to see why he turned out that way, but in the end, he is a villain. Like, he was gonna kill people anyway. So the way, like, it's understandable what he's gonna do and how he's gonna do it and stuff like that. But he's gonna kill people along the way, and he pretty much, if you kind of look at him, he's pretty much doing it for himself. He kind of he tries to benefit himself first. He comes first, and not really everyone else. So, really, I felt like in that sense, he's not really rightfully fit for a king. Now, he does have the right, technically, because he is related to the royal family. He is, he's the son of the brother of the previous king. So, and so he's a cousin. So, he's a cousin of T'Challa. But, going back on Killmonger, the way he acts, the way he is, really, in the end, he's not really, in my opinion, not rightfully fit for king. T'Challa, as um, charismatically lacking he is, sort of. He's still likable. He's definitely um, you know just and rightful, and he's definitely has that heroic thing going on. So he is fit for that main protagonist. Um, I feel again I feel like Killmonger. A lot of people argue that he's not a villain. He's not. He's just as his actions are justified and anything like that, but I don't justify killing or anything like that. And the vibe that I got that from Killmonger was when he was engaged in a gunfight with Andy Serkis's character, the Claw guy, or the arm cannon guy, whatever you want to call him. When his partner was killed, or his, I guess, girlfriend at the time was killed, he kind of just brushed it off real quick. He wasn't really like, no, like anything like that. He kind of just, he kind of brushed it off. He's still alive, so you kind of just like benefit from that. That's something, that's what I personally got from that. So, that's pretty much like why I think he is pretty much a villain in the end. He's the antagonist, rather than he's just he's just another guy whose actions are justified or anything like that. No, to me he's a villain, and that's all there is to it. He's a good villain. He was a very engaging villain, and that's something you don't really see too much yet anyway for Marvel films. There are some other memorable villains like Ultron and stuff like that, but Killmonger is definitely one of them. He definitely deserves that title as a memorable, engaging, emotionally invested villain, which is good. Which is why, again, this film as its own is pretty solid. But as a Marvel film, there are some things that they make it feel like a pretty good Marvel film as well, or something a little more refreshing. But anyways, Killmonger, just like any other movie villain, gets killed off, and at least though he had a pretty fit ending to him. It was very respectful and heartwarming. He did get to see the beautiful side of Wakanda. That's something he wanted to see as a kid with his own father, though. But he got to see him himself, and he was happy that way. And but meanwhile, even as a king, he was a tyrant. He acted like a tyrant, and he burned all the flowers and stuff like that. That makes Black Panther. So we're not gonna we're not gonna see any more Black Panthers in a way, and T'Challa will have to change things. There's not gonna be any more of probably the challenges, because what usually happens is he drinks the serum that returns himself to normal, and then after he wins or whatever, assumingly he drinks the the Black Panther, the lily or the flower once again to, I guess, to become Black Panther again. That's what I assume anyway. If I'm wrong, please correct me in the comments. But that's what I get. That's what I get from. There's also the part with what was it? Forrest Whitaker's character dying and stuff like that. I felt like there was a bit of a plot hole there, because they could have rushed him back to T'Challa's sister's room and try to heal him, but they're just kind of just like, oh, and they're kind of very, they're all just being dramatic and whatever. But I don't know, I just felt like that was something funny to point out, because they could have saved him possibly. They saved Agent Ross, who of course was the only white guy of the film, which was which I did forget to talk about, but he was definitely a refreshing character in that sense as well, because not exactly a white dominated film, just like the other films, but like it's just kind of neat to see the other side of it, the reverse. To see the only white guy in a dominantly black film. But anyways, he was dying. His spine was fucked, and they tried to save him, to bring him to the room, risking to reveal the location of Wakanda, or what Wakanda had to offer, and yet they kind of just let him die in that waterfall or whatever. And right after that, Killmonger threw off the child that lost. That he lost that fair and square pretty much. So. Well, that's pretty much it. That's all I had to say. That's pretty much like a big spoiler that I want to talk about. Oh, I guess the post-credits stuff. Well, there's Bucky. This Bucky makes his appearance in the post-credit scene. I think it was kind of cool. It makes me wonder where Captain America is. But other than that, not really much else to talk about, which is why I guess Danny felt like just wasn't the right time to come. Or the right film to come into to review with me. So that's why I was the only one here for this time around. But overall, again, I did like it. Not as much as other people try to make it out to be. As they say, it's like a mind-blowing film or whatever. I know it's a good film. That's all I gotta say. It's an 8 out of 10, and I still highly recommend it. Assuming you guys already watched this, since you guys are here for the spoiler portion. So, let me know what you guys think about it in the comment section below of Black Panther and stuff like that. And also, if you haven't already, hit the likes, subscribe and everything. And there's all the links in the description box below that, can help the channel and stuff like that if you guys feel like doing. I do have social media stuff as well, so you can check that out as well. But yeah, I do want to hear you guys what you think of Black Panther and all that stuff. Did you guys feel like, yeah, it was mind-blowing and stuff like that, but did you guys also feel like it's just a good film, nothing to get crazy about, but it's a good watch, good popcorn movie, whatever, anything like that? Love to check them out. So that's pretty much all I want to talk about with Black Panther. I think it was a worth a wait. It was a good film, and can't wait to see more. Can't wait to see Ant-Man and the Wasp. I gotta watch the first film before I jump into this one. Everyone says that's a good film as well. I think that's the only film that I'm kind of missing on my list, so I do want to check that out. And hopefully we'll catch Infinity War. We'll definitely talk about that here. I think Danny definitely wants to talk about Ant-Man, but definitely Infinity War as well. So. We definitely have a wait, but it will come around. And until then, I'll see you guys in the next video. Sean out.